Look at my hair starting to look like Prince's drummer from the Revolution. It's kind of...
Dr. Z? No.
Is that Dr.
no.
Z? Yeah.
Is
right?
it? No.
No, Dr. Fink is the keyboardist.
Dr. Fink, Bobby Z.
Bobby Z. Yeah, because this is my new comb over, but if I don't have it combed over or anything, if it comes forward, it then looks like Bobby Z. So I got it forward today.
Bobby Z, right, continued on after the Revolution, didn't he? I'm trying to remember. I listened to the Prince podcasts about 1999 and Sign of the Times, and I believe Bobby Z was part of the post-Revolution band.
When I took my tour of Paisley Park, it was by a woman who, when she was in high school, she would hang around like I don't know what it would be, the AM/PM or the White Hen Pantry or whatever the equivalent was in Chanhassen. Or maybe they had a friend that worked there or something. But they would see Prince's bodyguards come in to buy like soda pop and chips. And then they'd be like, is there a party at Paisley Park tonight? And they'd be like, yeah. And so then they'd just show up and go to the party.
Wow.
Because Prince would throw these open parties for anybody who could figure out that there was a party.
Did you ever go to one of those parties, Chris?
No.
No?
No, I wish. I wasn't in Minneapolis.
Are you sure? Did you just forget? Maybe.
Did you ever hang out in front of a convenience store for hours at a time?
To go to parties? Not necessarily Prince's parties, but to go find a party?
Yeah, White Hen Pantry. We used to hang out. We'd wait for like people to say that was going to let us drink beer down in his parents' basement.
Or the Duncan Yo-Yo Man was going to show up.
The Yo-Yo Man, what are you talking about?
I remember once the Yo-Yo Man was appearing at the White Hen Pantry down the street from our house. Yeah, and we didn't go. Can't believe it.
Already saw him at the school.
That's right.
The
right.
Assembly.
Cut into his draw.
It's like the WLS van or something showing up at the pool in the 70s. I remember that. That was a big deal in about 1976 or something.
Yeah, you'd get a bumper sticker.
Is WLS still around?
I think so.
They don't play the top 40 anymore, though.
It's like Rush Limbaugh or something now.
I don't know if it's that bad, but I think it's, or is it sports now? I don't know. I have no idea.
Oh, I think it's sports. White Hen Pantries always had like a smell to them that was like really desirable. It felt to me like the smell came from the refrigerator units, but like it wasn't. It was a pleasant smell. It was like a cool, clean smell that made me think about candy and ice cream.
Yeah. I just read an article about how Disneyland, it has all these white boxes around and they're not speakers, they're smell generators. They shoot out odors every once in a while.
That's like a department store thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's my memory of Sears, is that it smells like popcorn. And Sears only smelled like popcorn until the early 70s when they finally realized, everything in Sears smells like plastic and popcorn kind of combined.
I always noticed it in Marshall Field's Oak Brook. It was definitely, they had something, it was right at the doors. You'd walk in and it was just, it obviously was everything too, all the new things. It's like new car smell. So it's all the toxic, all the new products and things, but definitely they had something at the entrances that was some kind of that smell.
Yeah, the 70s plastic.
Well, when we built the studio, my son would come down here and just smell. And he's like, I just love that new construction smell. I'm like, yeah, it's probably like paint and all this shit you shouldn't be smelling.
Exactly.
Did I tell you guys that Tom Lost, guest of the show, totaled his car?
I got confused when you said Tom because you always call him Thomas, but now he's Tom. Yeah. Is he Tom now?
I thought Tom Lost was kind of a cool name. No,
it is, but I was like, who is that? I don't know who Tom Lost is. Some old dude that I don't remember.
Missing episode.
Definitely like, that's a gap in my memory. I'm gonna have to just kind of sit back and wait until it becomes obvious so I can remember the event. But now I realize it's because you're calling him Tom and not Thomas.
Yeah, Thomas.
Walked away.
Everybody walked away.
That's great.
But guess who doesn't get a new car?
Me?
Guess who blew? Yeah, guess who blew his only chance to have a free car in life? I would have killed for my own car. I mean, that's the thing. Like, only rich kids had their own car, or at least that was my perception at the time. But now it's like, you dumb fucker, you blew it. You had your own car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I'm trying to keep a 13-year-old car alive for my child.
13's pretty young for a car.
Yeah.
Apparently, yeah. No, I know. The older car I sold off, and the person who bought it has been driving it around the country, and it's working fine. It's amazing.
Meanwhile, your fancy electric car has
That's
bricked
right.
out twice.
Exactly. Has bricked and locked me in once. Yeah, bricked twice. I got locked in once.
It trapped you.
Trapped me. Yeah, like an angry Knight Rider car, an angry kit.
We have this term around my house called the wife trap, because one time my wife was yelling, help me, and I ran upstairs, and my wife was trying to carry the baby. You guys remember baby swings? You kind of crank them up and the baby swings. And it's kind of got these weird sort of bars that are the feet of it. It's like A-frame shape. She had a huge picture frame and a pile of books and this baby swing that she was trying to carry through the doorway. It was a perfect storm of stuff that got her caught. And if she tried to, it was perfect. Like if she lifted up the baby swing, it would just tighten the picture frame's grip on her ankle to the doorway. And if she pushed down a little bit on it to try and loosen it that way, it would trap her a different way. And I was like, oh my God. I ran up and she was panicking. I'm like, hold on. And I ran downstairs and I came back up and she's like, what are you doing? Taking a picture? I was like, yeah, this is the most amazing trap I've ever seen in my life. So eventually I helped her out of it, but I had to take a picture of it because it was so perfect.
Yeah, you have to document.
Should have live streamed it.
This was before it was.
Oh, this was a long time.
People had camera. I had a digital camera, but it was before the social media was in our. I would have.
You would have been famous.
You could have TikToked it.
Is that the official verb? TikToking it?
I actually was in a meeting today. It was about student engagement, I think. That makes me sound like I think I don't know what it was about.
You weren't very engaged, were you?
Right. It wasn't about faculty engagement. It was going over results of a survey from the lockdown, and this administrator said zoomed out. A lot of the students were zoomed out, and I'd never heard that phrase before, but I wrote it down because I loved it so much. It was like, boy, I wish I had that phrase a year and a half ago. Totally zoomed out.
Yeah, we had a similar discussion today about how people are zoomed out. And a guy had taken 2 weeks off of Zoom and said it was awesome. Then I was thinking to myself as they were all talking about how Zoom is evil. I'm like, well, I actually booked a Zoom football party with my friends on Sunday to watch a football game, and I'm Zooming with my friends tonight. Or it's not Zoom, but it's a meeting. But
it's like Band-Aid. It does, or Kleenex. It's Zoom. Zoom is all video conferencing now, forever.
Yeah, good for Zoom. We should have bought that, NFTs and Zoom stock. We would be rich.
Yeah. Yeah, apocalypse wealth.
And on that note, welcome to Lost and Found and Rewound, a podcast that when it ends, Rick and Jim will continue being brothers, playing in bands together and seeing each other on a regular basis, while I'll go back to rarely seeing them, bound by the fact that this is yet another joyful experience in my life that had to end. Also, considering that at my advanced age, I continue to drink like I'm 22 years old, meaning I physically consume the amount of alcohol I did when I was 22, and that I drink like I'm still trying to bury the horrors of my childhood and the mistakes of my adolescence. This may very well be the last time I spend a significant amount of time with either Rick or Jim, let alone the two of them together. I'm Chris Lost.
Wow. I'm Found Jim.
And I'm hanging from a noose in my living room after that intro. Rick Rewound?
Yes.
Wow, it really is the perfect final episode with Rick messing up his name.
I can't believe it. It's only been
2 years.
2 years.
I have to check the timeline. I forget how long it's been. I think it was 18 months last time we checked.
Yeah.
It's pretty close to 2 years.
And we never discussed about continuing after. I mean, it's 2 years and done was the motto, is when we started this.
It was 12. Well, it was 12 episodes.
12
is what
and
we
done.
Said.
Right. Okay.
And then Michael made us he complained that we didn't have the primer episodes, so we do the fast forwards as the primers.
Right.
Then I got the notion we should have a bunch of guests and try and stretch it out till COVID was over, but then, we realized COVID was never going to end. So then we got on with it. So that's how we got to 2 years.
All right. I honestly don't remember. The calendar item comes up and I show up. So I'll be here next month waiting, just staring out the window.
That's sadder than my intro.
Honey, what are you doing there in the dining room? Honey, come on out. It's over. No, I'm pretty sure every Tuesday, once a month, I should be here.
30 years from now.
Exactly.
Like in a wheelchair.
Exactly.
It's like Willie Loman and is waiting for his podcast pals.
Hope that scenario is 30 years from now and not 3.
Look, given that this is our last fast forward, I thought I'd start with our classic segment, Something I Learned Today. So, Jim, you can go first. What's something you learned today?
Jeez.
Rick kind of already shared something, but maybe there's something else he learned.
I don't know.
Lifelong learner.
There's got to be something.
I actually can't think of anything I learned.
I hate these.
Either.
Like this is the kind of thing, like name something bad that happened today, and then name something really good that happened today, and then what is one thing you learned today? I hate those questions.
Oh, yeah. That feels like it's called an icebreaker.
Yeah.
When people ask you in meetings, tell us something interesting about yourself. What do you say, Rick?
I try to avoid those types of meetings. I don't think I've ever been asked. Honestly, I'm trying to think if I've ever been put on the spot and say something interesting about yourself. I'm trying to think.
They're like, we'll skip you, Rick.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like, Mike?
You don't have to answer. Or it's like, oh, we forgot. That at the end of the meeting, someone realizes, oh, we forgot. Rick didn't say anything. Usually that's the scenario where it's just kind of like somehow I get skipped over and not in a bad way. It's just kind of like, oh, did everybody say something? Okay, let's go on. And then I get away with it.
You're like sitting behind a plant.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we didn't learn anything today. That's good. That means we almost know everything.
I'll come up with something by the end of the podcast that I learned today.
Maybe you'll learn something during the podcast.
Just, shoehorn it in back at the beginning and make it all sound seamless.
I had a segment called Within Your Reach, and Jim jumped all over it. I was like, what is within your reach? And it was like a tennis ball can or something.
Yeah.
He's living in the moment. Right? That's, yeah.
I'm not learning anything from it. It's there and it's gone. That's it,
That would make sense. Have you seen the new Suicide Squad, Jim, by any chance?
No.
What, have you seen the old? You probably haven't
No.
seen the old Suicide Squad. You probably don't even know what Suicide Squad is.
Sort of.
There's a great villain. The evil character in that movie doesn't seem to think. It just seems to consume.
Yeah, I saw it. I was subjected to it, and I was trying to remember. You're talking about like the octopus thing or starfish
The
thing?
giant starfish, yeah.
Yeah.
It's sort of this beautiful, magical thing that just is destroying.
Consuming.
Random.
Metaphor for capitalism or something?
I don't know. You might say so. I just thought it was a fun starfish. I mean, I don't have to read anti-American things into everything. Jeez.
What's his name, though? I thought it was pretty amazing that he pulled off the Star Trek bald giant head thing. Peter Capaldi pulling off the bad guy with the electrodes on his head and the big giant bald head.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Did a great job.
You didn't remember that, huh? He pulled it off so well that it just didn't even stick out that there's an actor there with a giant bald head with electrodes coming out of it for the whole time.
In fairness to me, one of the antagonistic protagonists was a shark man.
It's true.
So I'm not sure the guy with the bald head and the electrodes, I've kind of, kind of went all the way in on the shark. So the bald-headed guy is not too much of a stretch.
Yeah. It's kind of like, if you're kind of thinking, well, how am I going to get people to just tolerate the fact that this guy looks like a complete nut job? Oh, I'll put something even more insane there, which is a talking shark man. Yeah, you're right. Kind of makes everything else look normal.
And I'll give him Sylvester Stallone's voice.
Yeah, which I had to tell my child, it's the voice of the guy from Spy Kids 3. I can't remember what version of Spy Kids Sylvester Stallone is in. And then he was like, oh, It's amazing how many actors that were in the Spy Kids series. Like Steve Buscemi. Oh, Steve Buscemi. I think he's in one of the Spy Kids things. Or he's in if they're in a kids movie, it really does make them timeless. It gives them a cross-generational appeal.
I just have to tell my son that's the actor from Rambo, First Blood Part 2, First Blood Part 3,
Yeah.
John Rambo, and then Last Blood?
Rambo Jr., son of Rambo.
You're mixing that up with the Rocky series where they have children involved. But yeah, see, my children have seen all the Rambo movies.
Yes.
Rick, clearly, Jim, you've fallen down as an uncle. Rick, you've fallen down as a father. Not to call that out.
Yes, really depends on what you think good parenting is.
Did I mention that my son just totaled his car?
That's right.
Pretending to be Rambo as he drove it.
Was it a First Blood situation or was it a Rambo situation?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Brian Dennehy was chasing him. He was trying to drive over the gas pumps so he could blow up the town.
I got. Oh, no, go ahead.
I was going to go hot seat.
Yeah, let's do hot seat. Hot seat.
I noticed that we've gotten 7 reviews on Apple Podcasts.
Wow.
6 5-star reviews and 1 4-star review.
Oh.
I also noticed that Rick's other podcast got 21 reviews, all of them 5 stars.
Wow. All right.
And so my question to Rick is this podcast a third as good or slightly less than a third as good as your other podcast?
Isn't that the same thing? Wait. Now you're confusing me. Can I write this down, Alex?
Yeah, here we go. We got 7 reviews, 6 5-star reviews, and 1 4-star review. I like that you think that this is more of a math problem than it is a subjective opinion.
Have to show your
and
work.
And then your other podcast got 21 reviews, all of them 5 stars. So my question is this podcast a third as good or slightly less than a third as good as your other podcast?
Well, no, if it's 21 5-star reviews, then it's better. Because if you've got 6 5-star and 1 4-star, then yeah, the other podcast is better.
Is it 3 times better or even more than 3 times? So now I'm confusing myself.
I would average.
Is it Chris and my fault?
Yeah.
We each are half star off.
Well, you can mathematically eliminate me, right? Because
you're
I'm the common factor.
Well, it could be the absence of Rose, too.
Right. It's true.
Maybe you're only accountable for 6.8 stars.
I don't know. I think that would be the case if there were some 4 or 3-star reviews for the other podcast, because then you could say, oh, okay, the commonality is these 4-star reviews are for Rick. I think you can attribute the 5-star reviews to me because I'm on a 5-star podcast.
Or you could say the guy doing the reviews like, I normally give this podcast 4 stars because that Rick guy, but Rose really makes me put it to the 5-star mark.
If that helps you, Chris. I'm okay with that. My son and I just had a conversation about taking compliments, and I have and I think it's been established on this podcast. I have absolutely no ability to take positive feedback in a positive way, but negative feedback I take to heart.
It destroys you.
It doesn't even destroy me. It's just like, yeah, I think that's right. I somehow cannot cling to a positive review and have that lift me up.
So you couldn't even put on some faux bravado.
No, I mean, I'm consciously trying to tell myself things are good. I have to spend a lot of time looking at the positive. But I think that's just that a lot of people have that problem, right? It's like you pay more attention to the negative. So if you get negative feedback, you give that more weight.
Yeah, my wife will tell you that every day I've convinced that that's the day I'm getting fired. Today's the day.
Yeah, it's just a personality trait. And so it's learning to not let that rule your life or make you miserable.
It must be a survival instinct. It's like, today's the day I'm going to get eaten by that saber-toothed tiger. And if you keep thinking that way, you're going to always avoid the tiger.
Yeah, if you take an evolutionary biology viewpoint towards it, is if you become complacent and you accept, that means that you are leaving yourself open for the tiger to jump out of the tree and maul you to death because you're just like, what a beautiful day. I love this. And then you die because you're not thinking, oh, I should be looking around. Something's about to maul me. And so you're fighting your evolutionary state, which is that humans, I think, maybe are in some ways built to be dissatisfied. Well, they're also built for, to satisfy desires, but then also complacency is not a survival instinct. You have to learn to accept. That's something you have to learn because you're kind of built to survive, even though a lot of us live very protected and safe lives, right? But it's just kind of like, and that's why people sometimes make horrible choices where it's just like, I'm bored. I'm going to blow everything up. At least I'm not that kind of person.
Around 22 is when I sort of shifted from being the guy who's like, hey, who gives a fuck about life? Let's just blow it all up all the time, to, oh no, I better work on things. Work on being a productive and decent member of society. All right, question for you, Jim. Uh-oh. It's no secret that you rarely initiate interaction, and I think you're too polite to turn me down when I ask you to hang out. and you know that Rick is a well-mannered, cordial introvert, which means that he may be hesitant to initiate interaction and also wouldn't rudely decline an opportunity to do so.
Fuck you. Sorry, what?
So my hot seat question is, do you think that characterization of our friendship is accurate? That essentially we're doing this because you're just too polite.
That's horrible. I think that's a horrible question. I've decided you're a bad person, Chris, just for even asking that.
Rick's my lawyer. Rick got his law degree in the past couple of weeks.
How dare you, sir?
It's like a congressional hearing. My client will not answer that question.
Leading the witness, Your Honor.
No, of course it's not true, Chris.
That's all I wanted to hear. I was just priming for some positive feedback. Unlike Rick, I need positive feedback to keep going.
Oh, I need positive feedback. It's just, it's even more deranged than that, where it's like positive feedback, I do need it, but then it doesn't necessarily lift me up. It just keeps me from crashing.
It's just like the chain on the roller coaster. In order to keep going up the hill, you have to go one link after the other. It doesn't have any impact other than just keeping you moving forward.
Exactly. It's kind of like having that chain, but it's just moving you horizontally, so it's not even lifting you up.
Yeah, there's no hill at the end.
Yeah, there's no hill or anything.
Drop.
Yeah, it's just more like having a chain-built horizontal railway system.
Kansas City. Food-wise, a city famous for its barbecue, but that's about to change. My name is W. Dave Keith, host of the podcast Taco the Town, and I believe that Kansas City is one of the most underrated, underappreciated, up-and-coming taco towns in the USA. On Taco the Town, we will shine a light on all the amazing tacos Kansas City has to offer. Kansas City is a great taco town filled with a variety of untapped taco stylings and flavors, and on the Taco the Town podcast, we won't stop until we've tasted every taco in the town. No taco table will go unturned. Each episode, we review a new taco joint with a special guest. We share taco memories, discuss taco topics, and put tacos to the test. We check the latest stories in taco news, and no taco is off the table on Taco the Town. If you love tacos, like I do, you're gonna love Taco the Town. Available on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, and Google Play. That's Taco the Town.
Wow, this is
way too much. Yeah, I think we need to get some fun stuff in here to pad this episode because this.
My next question was about Charlie Watts.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Well, it was. When should a band stop?
When they're all dead, obviously, from the Stones case, right? Is that going to happen? Yeah. I mean, what is there going to be one Stone left, and they're still going to be? Is it going to be like just Mick? It'll be the Rolling Stones.
Who do you think it will be?
Keith.
Yeah, I think it'll be Keith because Keith's dad just died a few years ago. Keith.
Wow.
Regardless of what he did to his body, and like I said before, he doesn't eat cheese, but his father lived into his 90s.
Wow.
I'm trying to remember. I read a little bit about Mick's family. So, I mean, it's entirely possible that it will be Keith. Bill Wyman retired, but he's older. I mean, Bill Wyman's like, Charlie Watts was 80 when he died, right, this month. But Bill Wyman, I think, is 84. Does that count? Because he retired?
Yeah, that's the thing I was going to say. I have a band where we've changed drummers twice. We keep rolling. You guys changed drummers several times. And guitarists. What member, like Led Zeppelin, I'd argue they didn't continue, that they stopped. You know, there was some like weird reunions and crap like that. But I think they kind of said, look, without Bonham, we can't be Led Zeppelin.
I think Robert Plant agrees with you. Everything I've ever read from Robert Plant, he is definitely agrees with you and is not happy with the reunions and is the reason why they don't play.
Was it when Giants Roam the Earth? Is that the name of the book? They go into that in depth about his hesitance. But then they also say that it may not just be a sonic decision, but the fact that Bonham was the only one who came to his side when his wife and child died, and Page was off getting high somewhere, whatever the book alleged. So it could be a personal too. But I'd argue you couldn't create Zeppelin, even with access to every drummer in the world. There's no way to replace him. Do you think that for your band, do you think there's somebody in the band where you're like, if they quit, we're done?
I think we're strange in that way because I think even though I'm the singer, I don't think I'm necessarily the focus of attention live, at least.
Yeah.
I don't know. I watch you live.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Chris. Again, not doing a very good job of accepting that.
It's definitely you and Rose, obviously, are the core thing. So it would be weird without one of you.
Yeah, that's true. But I also feel like it doesn't really matter. I don't think we're not that kind of band, right? Where it's like I'm thinking about the Stranglers. So because they just put out a new record. The lead singer, quit 30 years ago. The original lead singer and the keyboard player passed away due to COVID, and the drummer was ancient when the band started. He was already in his mid-30s when punk hit, this, and so he hasn't performed with the band for 10 years because he's in his 80s. He's old. He was older than Charlie Watts, right?
Well, then who's in the Stranglers then?
The bass player who was an integral part of their sound. He's the only one left now, and so that's strange. But it was also, they had hits and everything like that, and they can make a living performing, and so there's a reason to keep playing.
Makes me think of those charts you see nowadays. Like I think about them as being on Wikipedia pages, but of bands. And when there's 30 people in the band, and they have just the colored bars with the timeline, and this person was in the band for this long, and that's the only way you can visualize. And there's 30 people in the band. Probably some kind of way you could use AI or something to predict who is the most important. Well, obviously you could tell it just by looking at it. It's it's the one bar that's been there the whole time, but.
Well, I'm going to challenge that theory. If I looked at The Cure, for example, could I tell who the most important person in the band was by looking at their bars?
Yeah, what's his name just quit, right? The guy who'd been in the band for 40 years.
Bass player?
Was it?
I think.
Gallup was a bass player.
Somebody who was in the band forever just quit.
He went in and out, though. He came in and out. That was a joke. I thought, because obviously it would be Robert Smith across.
Right. But I'm thinking about the Beach Boys and how they just sold off. So they weren't able to sell off their catalog. You know how everyone else is selling off their music. All these old rockers are selling off their catalog. But since the Beach Boys, the Wilsons' father sold it off in 1970 because they were washed up, he sold off their publishing way early for less than $1 million. They don't have that to sell, but they sold off to Irving Azoff's company. I think they sold off the identity of the band. So the Beach Boys, its identity sort of in the future. It's like how to monetize it, 100 years into the future after the deaths of all.
John Stamos' children will be the Beach Boys at some point.
Yeah, it's not even about who's in the band, right? So yeah, you might have a band performing, but also just in the same way Jimmy Buffett has restaurants, right? Beach Boys restaurants, that kind of idea where it becomes a brand. Kiss is the same way, or especially Kiss. You can see at some point they're just being tours and experiences or shows 100 years from now with Kiss. Some large multinational corporation owns Kiss, right? And they're still manufacturing the caskets, the Kiss caskets, and the comic books and the records, the Kiss experience in Branson. So to me, those kind of questions are getting blurrier and blurrier about what a band is. But I guess for us, it's like, yeah, we're just a band, and there's not really a lot of. Well, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I romanticize, like, the Police couldn't be the Police without those three guys together. The Zeppelin is not Zeppelin without those four guys. But then like, I talk about how Pavement shouldn't have kicked Gary out. I felt like he was the heart and soul of that band, and losing him, they lost some moxie. Then you get in a band and you get through like the logistical challenges, not even like conflicts, but just the logistical challenges of keeping four people together playing for over 13 years. Inevitably, somebody's going to leave. They got other shit to do, and you want to keep playing. So you just because some fanboy, not that we have fanboys, but I'm just saying, like, just because I don't think the Allman Brothers really are the Allman Brothers, because there's no real Allman Brothers in the band anymore, that doesn't, bands want to play music. You got to keep going. But I would argue it'd be hard without the three front people, particularly you and Rose. It would be hard to kind of push that band forward.
Yeah, don't sell yourself short, Jim. You've been there for 30 years, right?
There you go, Jim. You can start your own experience band.
Yeah.
Actually, listening to, I listened to a record, not to dwell on our bands, but I listened to one of our records, and I thought to myself, like, lyrically, this is really dark, and there's nothing uplifting about this at all. Why would anyone want to listen to this?
Was Jim on the record?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. This is a later record, and I'm thinking, wow, what's going on?
Are you familiar with punk rock, Rick?
I am.
Or hardcore, or post-hardcore? Do you think that's all Rosy Day music, or?
Yeah, and I do remember the mother of 2/3 of us, saying once, well, why are there no happy songs?
Well, that was a famous quote from Michael when he sat me down and said, if you really want people to like your music, maybe you should make it entertaining.
Exactly.
Your lyrics can be negative, but your songs can be entertaining. Right?
That's true.
There's tons of energy and fun to be had in your songs, whether you're screaming about, the destruction of all humankind, the implosion of the American government.
Nobody listens to the lyrics anyways.
And honestly, I always say that I'm not a lyrics person. It's like, I think I talked about that in our Rolling Stones episode, where it's like, wow, the more I listen and actually sit down and listen to Rolling Stones lyrics, it's like the less I like them. It's like, I think I've enjoyed them a lot, and it's probably because I just don't listen to lyrics, really. They kind of don't stick with me, oddly. So maybe that's part of it, is I just don't even think anyone's listening.
Yeah, I don't listen to lyrics at all. In fact, I've had people like say, is this what, this is pretty dark. And I'm just like, look, they're just words. I just said them because I needed to say something therapeutically. And I thought I'd put it in a song because nobody would listen to it.
Exactly.
Fortunately, nobody does. So I'm good.
Yeah, win-win.
Music is therapy, Rick. If there were happy songs, maybe your life would be pretty sad.
I understand that, and I've come to terms with that. Yeah, that's what I have to realize, is that it's a part of me and part of my life and part of my coping mechanism, and I have to just deal with that. I have to accept it, and I have accepted it. It's just unavoidable. It's a part of my life. I'm better off for it, because I know people. It makes me sad when people say they don't create anymore, whatever reason. But a lot of times it happens in music. It's like, oh, music's ruined for me. They go through the music business, and then all of a sudden, whatever music meant to them is lost all joy. Right, and it's just all negative for them. And so for me, that's not true. Yes, I'm kind of moving along on that train with the chain horizontally.
And then you look at Robert Smith, right? He's been happily married for 35 years or something. If you listen to his songs, you'd think he's been on the edge of suicide for 40 years now. Either he's a sham or that's part of his therapy.
I think it's both.
Speaking of music, Rick, would you like to tee up our upcoming film for our last canonical episode of Lost and Found and Rewound?
If I don't, it won't end. If I refuse, we'll just keep taping, and I'll just be sitting here in this room.
Look, I love doing this. It's just the editing's getting
Yeah, no, I
It
know.
takes a lot of time.
I know. I've been doing a lot more editing. It's torturous. It is very difficult editing. All right. The film we're going to be talking about is Diva, a French. Oops, my call ends in 10 minutes. A French new wave film from 1981. And I did say new wave. So that was kind of one of the conceits. There was the French new wave, but then there was this 80s new wave, which I think was just Diva, right? Were there other films in that? I mean, I feel like Diva was just
presumptuous, trying to start a whole new movement.
Yeah, popular in outside of France movie. 16-year-old hipster bait.
Oh, you know what? I finally finished watching The Cat from Outer Space.
No, you
Without
watched it
us?
without us.
Yeah, I had to.
Oh, now I can go watch it.
It's got excellent stunts. I mean, amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Helicopter and biplane stunt at the end. It goes on
Wow.
for about 10 minutes, and it's real. And it's pretty amazing. I was kind of shocked. I didn't really remember it as a child.
I think a lot of people cite Cat from Outer Space as one of the best examples of pre-CGI special effects and stunts.
Did you answer your question about Cat from Outer Space from the earlier episodes?
So, I haven't watched DT recently. The research has just begun. I haven't even finished the novel, The Cat from Outer Space, which I do have.
Have you seen the film E.T.?
Yes, but only once in the theater when it was released. I'll have to watch them both side by side with the audio on, maybe in one ear, one movie in the other ear, and just do it that way.
Dark Side of the Moon playing behind them.
Yeah, and a center speaker.
Or maybe just Animals. Maybe Animals is the album you sync to The Cat from Outer Space.
Around the same time, right?
Yeah.
There's a new Animals box set, right? Like,
Is there really?
yeah, the one Pink Floyd album you don't really care about. I find it to be the least Pink Floyd album I think about the least out of all of them. And yet it's going to have this giant reissue with outtakes.
Are you crazy? That's the best Pink Floyd album.
I like the delay, right? It's got one of the songs that has the delay going through it the whole time. There's like a word that repeats, like with tape delay, or maybe it's another digital delay.
There is something like that on there. I mean, I thought you were talking about da-don, da-don, da-don. There's that one on Echoes. There's that song
right.
on Echoes.
I love the cover art.
Yeah.
It's the one Pink Floyd album that I can listen to now, I guess is the way I would review it. Like, I can't listen to The Wall anymore. Can't listen to Dark Side of the Moon anymore. Final Cut, give me a break. No chance.
Piper at the Gates of Dawn. Shit.
No, well, those are good records, but I mean, like, of the Gilmore era, Pink Floyd, I'd say Animals is the one I can go back to. And it's
Yeah, no. I understand. You're one of those people that doesn't think the Syd Barrett era counts as Pink Floyd.
Right. Back to our previous conversation. That was a different band, and then there was Pink Floyd 2, the sequel, and then there was Pink Floyd 3, which was really bad because that didn't have Roger Waters or Syd Barrett. That was just embarrassing. You guys agree, right? Silence is compliance.
That's right. Oh man, I feel like this is going to be, well, it'll be good. It'll get people to really look forward to the ending of this series. I think if this little preview is just this deep dark rut, they're going to be like, okay, yeah, maybe it is time to be finished with this.
I think we're going to find that this has been hilarious.
I hope it elevates. I hope it comes across as an enjoyable segment.
We have gotten a lot of notes from folks saying they didn't want the show to end, that they really enjoyed the show. They like listening to us. And I'll say there's a British TV show called, Jim, you probably know it. It's called The Office. And after it finished its, I think, 2 seasons, they came back with a special, a Christmas special. So we're going to, there's a very sort of European or BBC vibe to what we're doing here. And so we'll come back with some specials. I've got them listed here. 1999 versus SOTT as an episode. We've got Hereditary versus Exorcist 3. We've got The Intruder drum sound. And then we've got Rick watches the entire Human Centipede franchise, Clockwork Orange style.
Yeah. Hopefully I'll be in the wheelchair drifting away by then.
I will say, Rick, don't watch Human Centipede 2. I mean that sincerely. I joke about you watching horror films and how it'd be okay. That one's really not okay.
You think I wouldn't understand it because it's the sequel?
Right. No, sorry. What I meant to say was, Rick, don't watch Human Centipede 2 without watching Human Centipede first.
All right, I'll make sure. Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure from what little I've heard and seen and read, that will not be on my viewing list unless in the retirement home they happen to have it on the TV. Richard, do you want to watch a digital video disc? How about this one? This one sounds, you like nature films. How about this one? Human Centipede. We'll put that on for you. I'll put this in. I'll leave you here and I'll come back in 2 hours. I'm reminded of the Leonard Cohen. Have you heard the last Leonard Cohen album? The record he made while he was dying. And there's a song like You Want It Dark.
I remember watching that David Bowie video and just thinking, I feel like I'm watching a snuff film here.
Oh, You Want It Darker. We Kill the Flame.
Wow.
Yeah.
He probably didn't take kindly to positive feedback either, I'm imagining.
That's right. I think of myself as in the company of Leonard Cohen.
I guess if you're on your deathbed, there's really nothing anybody can say to cheer you up.
Yeah, and you know, if you go away for 10 years to a Buddhist retreat and then come back home and find out that your manager stole all your money and you have to play shows and go on tour again even though you don't want to. It makes a jaded person even more jaded. Oh, we're going to go. We're going to go.
Uh-oh. I can see the clock ticking. All right, we'll say. We love you, everybody. Thank you for listening.
That was fun. Yeah, it was great.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
See you later.
And that's it. The Google Meet call goes dead. And I sit.
Lotus Pod.